Okay. Hello and welcome to Bug Free Productions. We're going to do a little something different today. And by that I mean exactly the same thing. And it's going to pull open to our new bordered. So if you watch the videos and want to maybe catch one of these live and ask questions, go ahead and follow at twitch.tv/jib@BFP, or catch the YouTube video later on Bug Free Productions. If you have a question or anything that you want addressed on stream or video, go ahead and drop one in the comments on one of the YouTube videos, and we'll take it from there. So I'm making these recordings today for showing off some of the new XR capabilities of the VRClassroom. So we have the VRClassroom application. There we go. We'll have the VRClassroom application demoing what has been added to it since last. It's been like a few months since I've actually been before the contract, it was a few months since I had been able to work on this in any way. So we kind of got this new setup. The contract was for specifically adding VR and, or not adding VR, adding multiplayer to the VR, which went about as smoothly as dragging a tiller through gravel. As you can tell by the title of the stream, it went out with ending up being XR. So now we're running XR, and instead of using the Oculus Meta built-in building blocks and whatnot, because it just was too coupled to the multiplayer of netcode for game objects, so that ended up getting cut and moved over to the built-in XR from Unity. So the regular XR, which also means that the simulator will run on Linux now, so if we add any more Linux devs, they can edit on their Linux machines as well and not have to deal with the frickin' problems of using MetaQuest emulation software, which doesn't run on Linux by default. So we'll go ahead and move to actual demo of it and just make sure we can hook this up for right now. We're going to go ahead and do play. And I'm going to get this started, and we'll go full screen while we do this. This is just the built-in mirror. Mirrors the multiplayer netcode that I'd use. We're going to use the built-in host client. Let's pull this back up. There we go. Very quiet. There we go. The host server. So we just use the standard mirror provided connection UI for this testing because there wasn't any point in the goal wasn't to have a buildable application. The goal was to add a bunch of functionality to the project. So just went with this, left this UI as is for connecting and disconnecting. And we're going to go ahead and on our other machine, make sure that loads up. And we're going to try a connection via mirror. So while that guy decides if it wants to run or not, can go ahead and start our host. So with our host going here, we can host the server client, and we can look around a little bit as our client. It's kind of weird that these little cubes don't follow my camera rotation, but I suppose that makes sense given that it's a VR system. So the VR system being that your hands are tracked entirely independent of your camera. So this works, and now I'm just going to step over to my client side, which finally ran. I'm going to send you to the let That's the other address. Now I'm just running this over local. It's okay. So we can see our player object right there. So our player object is right there. That's our client player. So we can see the players in world space. We did connect using the same address, so I don't have to retrack down my address, which is cool. And we have some interface things we'll talk about here in a second. So we have guests can save. So toggling if the guest can actually save a room config. Right now it's set up to explicitly save only to the local area. So if a guest saves a room, it will save it to their local disk. And guest can edit. So edit would be to allow the guest to edit in world space of the multiplayer. And guest can record is using the memento pattern I built to be able to record mementos of game objects and replay them. That part is not quite hooked up in the UI yet, but is a very quick fix. So, but the memento recording and replay is working. It's in a different scene with a different input because it was built with the Quest input mapper, so it's left in there with it right now. And we'll see this, we'll demo that video at a different time. Alright. So with that running, I think I'm going to position the other player, and then we're going to go ahead and start our recording just out of box here. And, okay, so there's that, there's that. Okay. So because this is all, you're only going to be able to see the server side, it's going to be a little bit one-sided. It's not going to demonstrate both screens at once. For that, I'll have to take separate recordings and I'll mash them together, and then I'll probably post that as a whole video. But so let's go ahead and take the client side part now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a start recording. Alright, so hello and welcome to Bug Free Productions. Here I'm showing off the current state of the VRClassroom project. We are looking at the progress of having networked multiplayer. As you can see, my little player character over there, who is not manned currently, so he can't move around or say much right now. But we'll move back over here. So that's our client over there. I am on the host machine right now, and you can see our host client, our host canvas. And he has the buttons to save a room, allow the guest to save, allow the guest to edit, and the guest can record. By default, these are all set to false, so none of these guys can actually, like, the guest can't do any of this until the host actively allows them to do so. We have actual permission management in there now, so that works nice. So if we go ahead and do guest can save, if I were to look at my canvas over on the other side of the screen, it would be grayed out. And if I go and do this again, it goes ahead and removes that, because you can no longer record or no longer save. Then I can also do a guest can edit. And if I look on the other side, you'll see the permission is acknowledged. A nice little development thing on this is that The buttons, these are all the same UI, it's just buttons toggled on and off, so users are not allowed to add input presently. And the host, so instructor point of view, is the only one who can do a lot of this stuff by default. So let's go ahead and we'll leave the edit on. Or actually, we'll turn the edit off for right now. And we'll do a placement. So this is networked placeable item. So probably do another slap screen here where put side by side, and both the player and the both the host and the client, or the host and the guest, will be able to place items in the network, provided their correct toggles are met. Whereas you look at this right now, and I can place it on the host machine, but if I were to go and toggle can edit mode, then our client over there, so if I go over to our client and have him decide he wants to do a little placement, we have that there. And we can see that the chair did appear on our screen. Now, since he also has the edit capability, he can also go ahead and ooh, I hope this works. There we go. Sometimes the pop-up display for the controls gets in the way of the actual key click, which is what was happening there. But is the something? Oh, I deleted the wrong object. There we go. So I accidentally placed a chair behind the host and then deleted the one behind the host and not the one in front of the host, so we couldn't see it. But, so there's the placeable and remover, and they can use that. They can also interact. So let's go ahead and do a G placement there. And this one's a little different right now. So I'm working on a control thing, a state machine, to allow the host to switch between different states, host and client, or host and guest, so that they can use this. Right now I have to kind of turn it on and off a little manually, but before the final build that'll be no problem to finish up. So let's look at our container. We need the first one because the first one's going to be our host, and we can verify that because I turned the network rig off for every host. I mean, for every non-local. So every non-local is the best way to say that, unfortunately. So since we're on the host, our local is the host, and we just want to go in and we want to go to the XR. I kind of have to turn this off manually right now. Or not in the XR. Network to avatar. My placer. I just kind of toggle this guy off for right now. And that's just so I don't have the placer and remover trying to run. As you see, I can pick up that chair and move it around on the host. If I go over to my client side, and do the exact same thing, which would be to open my XR container, the networked avatar, and turn off the XR placer, I would be able to lift and manipulate that in space as well, and I think you can see it on screen. So you can't see that I am grabbing it because I don't have any of that visually hooked up, but you can see it moving, and that is moving because I am grabbing it and moving it. and then it'll settle. So network grabbed interactions and all that stuff are working. Network placing, removing are working. Network saving is working. Saving and reading is working. And the memento will be on a separate video. And why will it be on a separate video? Because we are going to do that in an entirely different branch than what's loaded currently. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my client. I want my client, or my host, left over. So my left host is going to do something here. Save room, save. I think I just want to stop the player right now. And I'm going to play. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to host server and client. Okay. And you'll notice those chairs are there. When I load in, I actually saved those chairs, so those are part of the demonstration of the, or they demonstrate the functionality. So if I actually do that, and then go back to my canvas, when it's rendered correctly, I think I can do, maybe if I bring it this way. It's a little bit difficult because the screen cursor doesn't lock, which is kind of unfortunate. Okay. There we go. So if I click save room, then I'll have saved it. Tells you where you saved it to. So those chairs should be in there the next time I load in. And the load system does appear on the client side as well. So if I do host server, we see the two chairs there that are left. And we could even show this further. Alright, and this will, as you see, save the chairs in their placement. So now that this is all working and this is all saved up nice, we can actually go ahead and close out. That is all of the functionality until we record the memento pattern, which is going to replay development, or not replay development, replay the movements of objects that are recorded in the scene. So with that, thank you for watching, and we'll have another video soon on the memento pattern and also some of the other hookups that didn't quite transfer into this new XR setup yet. Okay. So, nice little 10-15 minute video of quick walkthrough. There's still more to do on that one. Still a little more to do in hookups. But I'm probably going to pull open some code here and work on it a little bit. if you've watched previous videos, you know that I have basically full license to basically still edit anything on this project and also talk about the project and also show code and work on code. Um, but, oh, streaming was the other thing. I have full permission to do this on stream and all that, so we're going to go ahead and open some code up and work on this a little bit until I get bored. Probably going to do a check-in, see if I'm still okay at like the 1 hour mark. And if I'm not, I'm just going to switch over to bike race, because beautiful. Which is also another announcement for stream probably, is that I think I've mentioned it, but bike race coming up. I'm going to start doing some more serious development this July. And we'll be working on getting some other stuff going. I've already started the trail system. I think I started something on stream, and I'm probably not going to continue to... I kind of threw that away, what I was working on there, and took a different direction with it. There was just a better way to apply that pattern than a functional observer. I still prefer the object-based observer, even though it's, you know, maybe not as industry preferred or fast or overall attractive, but to me it's just easier to process, so we leave it that way. Pooling stays the same, player object, observer, networking. Networking folder is an unorganized mess. Just everything networking has kind of ended up in here. So first thing first, I think I want to touch the canvas probably. Can't touch it there. Gotta go assets, my own prefabs, my network, my XRs, my XRV2. My XRV2. Yeah, you can see the progression of here, and this is only half of the progression. So this is how many prefabs. Each prefab had like a couple days of life to it. So yeah. Got XR, I got this canvas, and the canvas is what I want to edit. I want one of those to be the things I edit. Reminder, I use Visual Studio Codium, so VS Codium. I don't use VS Code, I don't use Visual Studio anymore. Visual Studio used to be really good for development, and some people probably argue that it still is. I've kind of had some mixed feelings about it in general these days. Just with the implementation, the way that Microsoft implements AI tools is not something that I prefer. I prefer being able to also pull in my local models, and I don't like how GitHub was kind of against these guys and tries to push you towards like an all Microsoft environment. It's fine that you provide an all-in-one environment. If I don't want it, though, don't make me have it. Really, number one pet peeve of software is software that requires you to have everything else that they, and only use what they have. Really sucks. Defeats the whole point of computers in general. At least networked computers. So, really stupid. Positive color, negative color, text color. That's all easy. Don't care. Save button. Valcars. Kill this debug box because there's never anything in it. Again, extensions recommended. C# library, .NET tool, code spell checker from Street Side Software. I use Continue to use Olama to use my local LMs, which you don't actually need a huge graphics card to run these if you want to do development. Go ahead and just run it on whatever you want. 1660 is going to do a perfectly fine job of running up to like a 3.5B model to help you. And I just use it for error checking. I don't even use it to generate code because I'm kind of past that level. Error lens. Error lens is another really good one. Error lens is the one that's going to show up and have a bunch of code debugged in the side. So it's probably going to take a little longer to load up, but that'll show up later as we keep going through. And Markdown for humans, we have what you see is what you get. That's just basically for my to-do list to try and keep track of my multiple files. If you guys are interested in like a snippet of tools where I just break down what I use my tools for and how I use them, let me know in comments or in chat, and I'll probably take a snippet at some point. We have to have Unity to do Unity stuff, and then that's all the information I really need. That's one of the things I like basically always open my classes with is just like, here's the 5 extensions that are almost indispensable. So we're going to go ahead and these are just setting up the permissions, a little bit of setup. The can record button was being a little finicky, so I'm going to just go do a quick Control F. Can record. And I think I need to put that together because it's probably a variable name. Guest can record. So let's do a Control F of that and see where that is in the script. We get right here. So this is access. So the button is accessed here. So on permission data change. So guest can record should be running correctly. And it should just be enabled if it is the server. Cool. Save button set active. So we're just kind of reading through our code and seeing what it looks like. So I have a feeling that it's gotta be here on permission changed. It's setting the color to if guest can record. That's on permission data changed. Let's go look at a different one. Okay, the edit button works. The record button doesn't quite work, and this can save button is working perfectly fine. On permission changed. So setup. Enable this server is server is server. So these are all enabled if I am the server. If is server, set these to true. Alright, because the permission doesn't change. Because the server can always click a button. We're just changing the permission that gets sent to the clients. And we're going to be perfectly fine, so we're going to go do guest permission. I'm just going to go ahead and follow this down the line then. Net guest permission. I just used a simple struct. So this struct is something I can expand because I personally know all the pieces that are on it. And then this struct can just transfer all of the different permissions to a permissions manager. So the permissions manager actually has this struct in it, which is how I'm getting the information of if we can place certain things and whatnot. So if there's nothing in here that's a change, because this is just values, so then we have to go to our network permission manager. And our network permission manager basically just has a boolean, or not a Boolean, an action. So an event that has an action that is on permission changed. So this runs every time the permission changes, and we create a sync. So this is a hook for mirror, and basically we make a hook for our variable that is networked. Mirror takes care of our networking, and that variable is called netGuessPermission, and we create a new struct instance full of values. And the empty constructor, everything defaults to false. All the Boolean values are false. They just use standard defaults. So unpermission changed, old data equals. So this is just setting the data. So that's working perfectly fine. So let's add to onEnable and see if maybe that's the problem. Because you'll notice I never... Okay, we run setup on onEnable. That was added. So onEnable, permission plus equal. So the funny thing is we're adding the permission, but then when we're doing setup, we should have a bunch of false. We should have all red. But for some reason, we're not getting that. All right. So if we're looking at this sort of thing, and live code is one of those things that is just harder to write. Netcode guest permission manager. So something is... So the funny part is all of this is working perfectly fine. And this, on the host, should default to green, actually. So let's go ahead and try and run something on. See if we can run something on. We have onEnable, but onEnable is not quite doing that right. Let's just put some debug statements in and say we thought about it very hard. Debug.log. And we're going to do the log. And we're going to have some debug log statements in here. And we're just going to get our isServer. Or actually, we can get some permission manager. And we'll probably throw that in. Guest can edit button. Alright, 36. Yeah, I'm probably only going to give this an hour, and then I'm going to flip over to a different project. Just not feeling that. Alright, maybe we just go through and do some commenting. Gotta do something even dumber before we figure out what's going on. So this is the guest can edit button. This is going to be get component and enabled. So this is set by is server. So if I am server, we will be false. So we will disable the button component. We'll disable the button component. Is enabled is server, and then we're going to go ahead and so this is working because there's no click through. So maybe the reason is that this is never running first. So maybe we need this here. And then we can't do that because we don't pass anything in. Alright, so let's step it back once. Let's pull this copy. Let's paste it. And it's okay that that error's there for a minute. We can go get a net permission. And we'll just go ahead and grab that. Because I want to maintain the same exact name. Because I'm boring and don't want to remember more than one word. Disable. Alright, so the idea now is that we're changing this. Maybe I even want change setup. Make an entirely new name method because it's not going to do any of the enable crap. I was starting a comment here. We'll come back to that comment, try and finish it out. We don't need to... Well, we might want to leave that in there just in case. Make sure everything is re-enabled. Or set active and visible at least. Now that we have this new method, we can go grab the part of color setup here that we have. And I want to change setup, which is right here. And we want it right after the loop. I want the // there we go. Set up the color to the changed values. I can't type for crap. There we go. Color to represent the changed values. Represent the changed values. So this should be good, and then we just gotta change this to call. So setup's running fine. Or rather, it's not. I think we'll also add this on setup. We'll also add it on setup. But that's the same problem we had. I'll just leave it named setup then. And then we'll change this into something that just changed setup for us. And then in here, I'm going to just grab Network Permission Manager, because I can essentially get everything statically from him. Or not always statically. I have to use an instance for this particular thing, which I might change. Whoops. I didn't copy that right. Now we'll pop that open. We'll run our instance on permission. And I need net permission. Or I need a net guest permission. I need lower. Need to go look at it. Do I have a net guest permission that I can just return? I only have the manager. How did I get the net permission before? Guest permission is being passed into a delegate. Okay, or in from a delegate, so that's getting called in from somewhere else that's passing it in. Don't know, I can't really run the hook before, so the on enable would be risky. So I think what I want to do is I'll just add to the net permission manager, and I want the net guest permission because I don't want to call the action every time necessarily. Could be a lot of extra calls. So let's just make a new method for that, and I'll put it before my can edits and after my other ones. This will be public static, and this buddy's going to be static, and he's going to be called. Can I just paste the same word? Yep. Net guest permission. We're going to open that up. We're going to put it in a get. I hate when it leaves the bracket on the same line. And then we're going to go ahead and remove or not remove, we're going to return. We're going to go ahead and return, and we're going to pop in some network guest permission. Should be that with just the lowercase n. Don't get recursive. Might have to go check the name of that. Oh, there is no variable. Isn't there? Yeah, there is. There we go. Net guest permission. Net guest permission. Object is required. So because it's an object, we do have to get it from the instance. Dot. And as always, if you have any questions or don't quite get something I'm running through, go ahead and drop it in the comments or in the chat, and we'll keep going. So we have instance get net permission. So now I should be able to, from my canvas, actually access the net guest permission and send it to my setup so that my setup can run correctly. And we have this in here. I must have pasted wrong. There we go. Don't need anything in on enable, so protected, virtual, void, on enable. Then we have setup with the permission manager extension, like override or overload. And then we have net guest permission instance permission changed plus equal permission data changed. So running the setup and then adding our own on permission changed. So our own on permission changed to the permission changed delegate in the manager, which is similar to, yeah, all good. I think I can run this and test it now. If Unity ever decides it wants to load in more than 2 hours. Sometimes we have more faith in it than others. So once this all finally loads up, we will toss a prayer, and as this compiles, hopefully everything's red. Alright, so hosted server. Step back a little bit. Yeah, so now everything's red. Now we have green. So the button's not set up right. That's why that's happening. But the other ones are working good. This button is actually an easier problem to fix than the other one was. So that's definitely a canvas issue. And it's not even a... Let's open this canvas and edit it here. So this is my canvas prefab. And I know where this problem is because it's flipping the color of a different button. So it's definitely in the button setup. So we can go to the proper button, which is guest can record. Guest can record. And it's inside the on click. And you can see it's set to can save, and that's not what we want. We want can record. XR character canvas can record. And I wish I was better at reading. There we go. Can record. Very tiny font. And it's very funny because I actually turned up the, in order to get it this big, I actually had to tell it to print bigger. The only reason I don't make it print any bigger is because then I wouldn't be able to have, like, this would take up too much space. Okay, so now we have play working. Let's go ahead and test that. Little fixky. Take a drink. Alright, so here we got, guest can edit. Yep, on off, and on off. Beautiful. And yes, 3 pages of code to do that. So, Um, yeah, so what could be done next? So now that these are all working, I think, what is it? We're at 51-minute mark. Debating if I want to throw over to a different application. I don't think that I'm going to get anywhere in 1 hour on the hookup of record. So, let's try it. Let's go all the way back up to the top, back to the top, and we're going to go to our scene first of all. And I just want to get my other management game objects and check in the inspector. Yes, Memento Manager. And I want to... That's highlighted in blue in you. Okay. I've been switching back and forth among Unity versions, so slight visual differences, and just stuff I forget about. So we can go ahead and open this. So I'm going to right-click Edit Script. And in order to do this, I'm just going to read through this a little bit. So we have the key codes set up. Key codes were for testing. So this is still set up to test on key codes. So not ready for a buildable project, but definitely still functional. Still does the thing it's supposed to do. Set defaults. You'll notice a lot of set defaults in a lot of different classes. Test by key. Test by key is just... I really hate doing this, but it was the fastest way to test this. The copilot statements are... it's not written by Copilot. I ran a Copilot over top of it for error checking in order to like debug some problems with it. And the Copilot... I had it add Copilot to everything that it was adding as a debug statement. But what it did instead was relabel all of my debug statements with Copilot. So, like, I wrote these debug statements. Tools are really dumb sometimes. So, yeah, I'm actually probably even going to take it out of here because it's just going to confuse somebody later. Just kill that. Oh, wait. No, maybe this one was added by it. Mine would be like this. These would be the ones I added because I don't use that S string or that F string type crap. Personal preference, but I hate it. Keep looking, and we just see some stuff. So net guest permission manager. So to make an item memento manager networked version, I'm gonna create a new script. I'm gonna basically start from scratch, almost from scratch. I'm actually gonna inherit a lot of this, so I just wanted to leave this open for that reason. And I'm actually gonna flip back to Unity, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my network scripts. So what we got is we jump as soon as this compiles. It takes so long. I didn't even change anything. I barely opened a script. Oh, I saved a comment. Yep. Stupid comments. So necessary, but yeah, actually takes a whole compile session. Let's jump into scripts folder. In scripts folder, I'm going to go networking, player head sync. I really should have called that net because I'm going to reuse player head sync as a name for something else later. I just know it. But we're going to go ahead and do a create C# script. We're going to call this one net item memento manager. Net item memento manager. So this guy is going to be specifically geared toward putting him in our networked space. And our networked space is going to be Uh, the position and information is going to be managed by this for replay. I think this is spelled right. It's probably not spelled right. But that's the great thing about street side software, is that if I open it, what? Did I make this once already? Oh, come on. Alright, I guess I'm gonna do some cleanup real quickly. And we're just gonna go and we're gonna... Yeah, I did create this already, so... Kill it with fire. Kill it with fire and search it and... Come on. You can almost have a whole conversation by the time Unity loads sometimes. It's not necessarily Unity's fault, but it is unfortunate. All the same. There we go. Okay, so this thing I already made, and I already put the regions in there for it. So we're going to use this. I just leave this in my tool space. So I have a couple things that are in my productions for people that check out my repository for Unity scripts. It's called the Bug-Free Productions Library, and you can find it by looking for Isaac Busted. I think there's no space, all caps. No caps, sorry. So my name, no space, all lowercase. It's a problem with Docker. Docker can't use uppercase letters. At least some versions, at least, can't use uppercase letters in their management. So I had to change it all to lowercase and no spaces to get login credentials to work. Unfortunate. I like having capitals in things. It helps me read them. So we're going to go ahead and jump into Bug-Free Productions Tools is our namespace. We're going to be using Unity Engine, Systems Collection Generic, and Collections is fine. And we're going to go ahead and look at region. So region 1, we have vars. We're basically going to inherit everything from Item Memento Manager. So I don't really need to inherit a whole lot. What I do need to do is go back into and find my execution type code. So what actually executes? So unfortunately this executes every frame, right? So what I can probably do, since the idea of Memento Manager is to save the mementos locally only, and we'll all have an instance of the different objects on the network, we can just record locally, and I can inherit all of this, take the method of test key, for right now, and just wrap that. So if we just wanted protected virtual void test key, gonna just copy that so I can spell it correctly. And I'm gonna use this back arrow so I can find my place. Item Memento Manager, up one more. There we go. So I'm gonna do inside my methods region, I'm gonna drop that in. I'm gonna drop a line open, and I'm going to override this method. And protected override void text key, and basically this is going to use network. So what do I want to do? I want to check my network ID, but I don't have a network ID as a mono behavior. So what do I need? I need a new variable. And this is kind of the back hack way I kind of tried to do it, or set some of it up for networking. Mirror has a netcode ID, so we have netcode ID, but what I want is a net work lowercase network identity, and this network identity I'm just going to call NI. And this guy's going to be equal to null by default because it has to spawn on the network before it can actually be an object that we can reference. So because of that, we have to wait until everything is constructed before we can use it. And then inside methods, I think I need to go check the onEnable part of item memento manager. So just do a quick Control F for onEnable. And in onEnable, we have collect vars, collect variables. Did I delete that method because I didn't need it anymore? Nope, it's down here. Okay, so the base method sets their defaults, fine. SceneManager.SceneLoaded doesn't need to change. Unlike netcode for game objects, SceneManager.SceneLoaded using the built-in Unity Scene Manager is perfectly fine for mirror. At least for our use cases, it's going to be. So if instance not equal null, instance equals this. This is set in a singleton pattern. Friends don't let friends make singletons, but here we are. Don't destroy on load so that we keep it persistent. And then finally read rooms in path. So basically, if we are the object that we want to be, the single object, we find the rooms and read it. Let's go ahead and we can probably just let this work. So we'll just use base. There's nothing in here we really have to change. So we will use onEnable base. Now I have to find my way back. Find my way back for path. It's still not all the way back. There we go. So we're just going to do testkey.base, or base.testkey, wrong order. Just so we remember to do that. And then we're going to open up the onEnable. So I believe it was protected, because I like protected. Override, OVERIDE. onEnable, base onEnable. We do want base onEnable. And for base onEnable, we essentially want to go and grab some stuff. So all of this can execute, everything in there in onEnable, and we can go ahead and get network identity. So let's actually set the network identity. So we're going to collect the network. I don't capitalize part of it and not the other part. Collect the network identity from this game object. Game objects. And that's going to be a simple, if you've done Unity before, you know what's coming. NI equal get component of type network identity WRK identity parentheses line end control SS. Requires attribute when self-invoking get component. Oh, this is a suggestion. So this is the only downside. Sometimes it looks like there's an error or a worry, and it's just a suggestion. We could use a require component in this case. I'm actually noticing now that this is unimportant. So mirror, by default, actually allows any network identity or network behavior to check if it is on a client or a server machine. So, no matter what object you ask, it'll know if you are a client or a server, which means this is altogether useless for our purposes because we only care about if we are server or if we are not server. And why is it useless to us? Because we have that network permissions manager. So we can always talk to that network permissions manager instance statically. So didn't really need to do this. I'll comment it out for safety right now. Save that up. Test by key. We'll still need to do stuff in here, but we can definitely just do network. Whoops. And we could do the same thing with the reader. No, I think the reader also uses network guest permission as the de facto object to find permission. So manager dot, and I want to know is server. And some people might find this type of way of typing stressful, but this is how I kind of remembered, like, helps me to use autocomplete in a way that make sure I spell everything correctly and get the correct pieces. So test by key. So if our paste is server, new line, bracket, enter. Something is... Okay, yeah, we need the instance here. The instance dot is server, save her up, and net guest permission instance equals server. We're going to go ahead and add some... We're going to put our base in there. So if net guest permission manager instance is server base.test key. And then we have what we would have as our else case, but we're avoiding else's. Certain people prefer to use a more case-based approach. So we're going to try it. I'm trying that out for a little bit. So we're going to do return instead of having an else case, which some people really are against. I was one of them that was really against it. I always preach permissive versus restrictive type of programming and types of security, but there is a certain argument for this guy here, which is that if we are server, we don't want to take a chance and possibly run any more code than what our actual case is. So based on that reason, that's perfectly fine as an idea, I think. So I'm going to try that one out a little bit. So we're going to put return in our if cases to completely exit upon this case being true. We're going to do the same thing with this guy. So we're going to do network permission manager.instance, or not the server part, we're going to check our network permission. So if, I'm just going to copy this guy, drop him in here, and with net permission manager, we're actually going to get his dot guest can and this is record. Then we're also going to return the base test key. So just get the whole 2 lines. Whoops. There we go. Control SS. So now essentially we go in, if we are a server, we do the test key. If we are a guest, we only do the test key if we can record. So this lets us save our mementos and all that stuff. All that works really well. I actually don't even think that there's anything else I need to hook up to. Basically, the local manager should take over everything. So we don't really need any additional help with this guy. We can just leave him here. But we'll go ahead and double check that. So we go back to my Unity. Alright, so if we go back to the Unity, we're going to go ahead and do some end vars. Clear our search box. I probably want to explore this through the code way and go back to my item memento manager and just make sure that in something like the memento session recorder, Control F on get key. Okay, so it doesn't look like I have an on get key anywhere, which means there's no input detection on this class. I guess I should have expected that because there's no mono behavior on here. I just have subscription, which is my interface. While I'm in here, I'm probably going to delete this bulk of comments that just hasn't been needed for a long time now. Yeah, this is old link code that was kind of a practice setup. Didn't end up getting used. Got simplified a long time ago, probably like... I can't look at a calendar right now. Probably March-ish. That was like removed. So we'll go ahead and drop in some... That's it then. That's it for that manager. So the new network manager is just checking permissions, and based on that, it does everything that's underlined in the underlying class. We're not worried at all about any of that. So as long as the person can record, they can do whatever they want. As far as the mementos manager is concerned. Could probably add another thing, can replay. So maybe we'll do that in the net permissions. I don't remember where's that at. Net permissions. I don't think I opened it as an actual. I'm just going to go to Unity and find it. Be faster. Unless it takes forever to compile, which may be something that's true. Okay, so we have this. Let's go ahead and run to our scripts. And I want my mementos, so, or my permissions. So net guest permission or manager permission. Alright, so this guy, let's just add another bool. public bool and guest. You can see that our permissions are getting more and more implemented as we keep going. Guest can save. And we're gonna actually do can record, can replay. Maybe I'll actually even move that. Or I'll move this one down maybe, because I'll still be playing with this one for a while, but those other ones are kind of done. And I think I need to add this to the constructor as well to make this play nice. So when we conduct our struct, all the values are there. So this struct uses actually like C# 9, because that's what old Unity uses. I'm still on 2022. It'll be moving to 6, but haven't had the time to deal with that. It's been mostly focused on functionality, which all the stuff I'm editing doesn't have a whole lot of changes to it in the new system because I'm doing like scratch hand coding, so it's not that big of a deal for concern-wise. So we got a guest can replay. PLAY. And we'll just put that. Copy paste. I am not a typer. I try to type as little as possible because it decreases the amount of things I can misspell. So, quick drink. Quick drink and we'll move on back, rather, to what we were doing. Item memento manager, we need net memento manager. Net item memento manager. So we have test key currently. That just handles everything. So while this is true, this is probably a bad way to do this in general. I'll probably make this more specific now. To actually do that, I need to open test key. The base class, I don't like the way that works. Visually, it hurts my eyes. Net guest permission manager. Let's do test key. But I want to go to the base, so I think I need base.test key. There you go. Item memento. And if you see any copilot statements, that's just debugging. This isn't generated code. Copilot's just used to debug for this because it's a fast iterative check. And I had already spent 2 months debugging it, so it's time to move on. We have int item count, all of this stuff. So basically, start recording session, stop recording session, and this is a custom thing just to save my sanity when I was doing testing. I don't know, anyone can leave in the comments or in the chat what they think of f-strings. Not a fan. Unity methods, singleton is misspelled. Yeah, okay, so I just need those 2 methods, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's grab start recording. So now this new way will check if I'm hitting buttons, and it'll always do something, but the method calls instead will make the decision on the if statement. So Let's go ahead and copy that. Jump back. So I guess permission manager, and actually instead of test key, what I want to do is well, we'll leave this in place for right now, till we fix what we want to fix. So outside test key method, I'm going to actually control V. I just want to know that I'm using the start recording session. It's going to be a public. And I left it virtual because I knew I was going to have to overwrite it eventually. It's 2 Rs. Start recording session. I think I need a type, which would be void. Start recording session. And then I need parameters, enter, brackets, enter. Is that not overwritable? Oh, it's referencing, it's calling the reference. That changes it a little bit, doesn't it? So I can't actually, it has to be either wrapped here or wrapped inside the session recorder, which means I'd be making a memento session recorder and a networked session replay. The item memento manager is actually not going to be helpful in this case, because all of these methods are going to be exactly the same. They're just talking to a networked version of the code. So this was actually, well, that happens. So actually this isn't going to quite work. What I need to do is go back and do that. So I don't want to delete it just yet, so we'll label it as a testable thing. So like testable improvement, something like that. I think we can do like a summary. I don't remember how to do that. There's a shortcut. Yeah, whatever. I don't feel like hand typing out the block for a summary, so I wonder if I can actually, maybe if I do that, can I get it to autocomplete? Not quite. So summary, wow, that was some thunder. Testable code that prevents users from placing not placing recording. Actually, that's not good either. Using the memento system and recording. So that's fine. Why can't I? I really wish I could just right-click spell check would be nice, especially if I'm just in comments. Oh well. But the next step is going to be to do a networked memento session recorder. Whew. All right, so let's do. So this is going to be an empty class now. We're going to wait for Unity to take its 1,000-mile run. Alright, so then I'm going to clear my search bar. I'm going to go ahead and do create C# script. We're going to call this net memento cord. And if anyone is wondering, yes, I do spell everything out loud in class as well. Net there might be a second M. I can't spell, and I'm not gonna spell check everything before I hit enter. So much work. Let's go ahead and pop this open. Behavior is unknown. Okay, so that's the only spelling error it found, so we must be okay. Good collaborator etiquette. Created by tab, : tab. And then / created. Created tab, : tab. 6/28/26. Oops. 2026. And we'll give it a namespace. Namespace of bug-free productions dot tools. So, for those of you that might have checked out the library, oh no, avatar change. There we go. Okay, so yeah, that's just, it's mapped to the numbers, so anytime I hit the 2 key, it flips over. I probably could find a better space to put that, but I haven't found one yet. So there it is. Productions, tools. If you check out the library, the reason this is following that current idea of being part of the library, because essentially, as I'm still most of the developer, or at least the code parts I develop, I can reuse, or at least use the ideas of it to develop something new and put it inside the namespace so that this continually grows into something that possibly even builds like a large repository that at the moment is just kind of available for everybody to use. And so it's a consistency thing and a goal thing. Let's open up some regions. We open up a region. We have a vars region. A vars region, and we have a hashtag. Yeah, that's right. End region. Vars. And we go hashtag. So, I had a fun, I was listening to a audio reader read a book, and hearing somebody call C# C# is quite comical for some reason. Maybe I just spend too much time working with it, but it is funny whenever something like that gets read wrong by like a voice app, e-reader of some sort. So hash region. Then this is I just call accessors. I put accessors and mutators in here, but I don't want too many words, both for typing and for reading. So I just kind of shortened it to accessors. So we keep this, open up some extra lines for readability. Memento session recorder, we're going to inherit from the local Memento session recorder. And the Memento session recorder has those record methods. So if I open that, recorders. I don't want the recorders, I want the method calls. So I want to know to start recording session, stop recording session. And we kind of got to think about how would we want that to look like. Like, what is our definition of how this Memento session should behave? When it's a local one, it's very easy because your local player has the local room and they have complete authority over it. But when we give authority over to an instructor, what does that look like when if a guest starts a session of recording, just because they have permission to be able to start recording, do we cancel their recording in one of the other methods if that permission is revoked before it finishes recording? Which is probably the approach I would take. The other one would be to like just let them finish the recording and no longer let them start new recordings. But I think ending it partway through is the better option. So stop recording session or start recording session. So the stop recording session is going to be a little bit more difficult. So let's focus with just allowing them to record in general first. So I need this one. So I need to override this one. So then let's go from here to my net memento. Let's use the back arrows to find the right space. There we go. So I need the method, so I'm going to need to override this method. Start recording session, define it. And then I need to override it. Override. And as always, you can always drop questions in chat. If you're interested in seeing the display of the app, go ahead and check out the beginning of this video after this stream closes, where we just show off some of the quick functionality that was added. A lot of the development was actually pretty big on the XR side of it and a lot less on the functionality was a lot easier to implement than just the XR and the networking. And that's due to the authority I mentioned earlier. Authority management is a very big pain when you're doing network stuff, at least in game development. Might be a little bit easier on a website design, but still a tricky subject. So we have start recording, and basically I just want to do base. I'm not really super worried about it. Base, and you can do dot start recording. Oops, I hit Control C. Alright, and we only want to do base if, so we want to do base on two conditions. If we are server, and how can we tell if we are server? So we can just go to our static network guest permission, and we can get his instance. And we can get his is server. And did I misspell something? Yep. Can I get it to INS? Oh. There we go. Network permission manager. Our network permission is just a struct of booleans. So inside this if, we do a bracket, and we're going to continue the case style of networked programming that some people use. So basically I want to do this base, ICLI. And then we're going to return. Doing this because the logic is if I am the server, I can record locally, and that is fine. To do any sort of action, I am always permitted as the server, so as a host. Whereas if I'm a guest, dot I could do guest can. No, I want the guest can record. And so this is start recording session if guest can record. So then we can go ahead and enter bracket, enter base, and basically do the same thing because these will run local recordings. The only time I'm worried about, I'll have to edit the playback part of it later. But for currently, just in terms of starting recording and stopping recording, we have starting recording covered now. So if I am a network permission manager, or if I am told to start recording a session, I will do the base method, but only if my permission manager tells me I am a server, or my permission manager tells me that I can record. And base start recording session is the base session recording. Now, the interesting thing is how do I want to stop it from recording? So if they can record, that's fine. And I'm not going to stop them from recording if they were permitted to start it. And end recording is just going to end it if they were. So we're going to go do that. But the thing comes in, I want to be able to trigger it on a permissions change. So I want on permissions change to be able to receive that and tell that to, I want to be able to tell this guy to end it on his notify. So luckily I can just implement the interface. I say luckily like I didn't make this interface. Subscriber. which this is basically using the observer pattern. Um, if anyone wants a video or a session on that, go ahead and leave that in chat or comments. But essentially just letting me subscribe to and from the recorder allows me to subscribe to. This will allow me to subscribe to my net permission manager. And I'm just going to follow this guy. I just want to copy this. I don't want to think hard about it. It looks like I didn't fix the tabs. So I'll do that now. You'll notice, yes, I've been working on mementos and stuff a long time. I guess that's not that long. That's only like 3 months ago. Net memento recorder. Now let's go in here and I'm going to create a separate region inside methods to hash region. And this is going to be specifically for my subscriber methods. CRIBERMETHODS. Subscriber methods. Then we're going to do an end region of subscriber methods. Subscriber methods. And we'll go ahead and Control V drop down. Nice, nice, nice. So the thing with this is that we have to implement them, so I'll just add some definitions. And then with the definitions, we just Control S. So save all my windows for sure. And on subscribe, so when I call my subscribe method, this is kind of turned into something that I call that nobody else does, but it's whatever. Network, NetGuest permission manager. And did I make that a static method? I did not. Oh, wait, I didn't even make that a subscription, did I? Let's follow that for a minute. No, I did not make this a subscription. I was doing the quick thing and just telling everybody to add it to that delegate. We're gonna get rid of that then. Or rather than get rid of it, I'm gonna leave it in. I'm gonna leave the region active, and I'm gonna comment the code out and then hide that. We're just gonna add it and on enable, and just to make sure I come on, I'm gonna use the base and make sure search for on enable and make sure I don't have one. And if I do have one, I'll override it. This is not a memento. Right. Correct. Yes. It's not a mono behavior, so it doesn't have an on enable. Which causes a different problem. This style was working really well when everything was a mono behavior. But kind of falls apart when you don't have the other methods to override. Do I have a constructor? Let's try looking for Memento Session Recorder, Control C, and... Yeah, I don't prep these streams very much at all. It's very much a kind of a work day. Which is why it's just a work day with open for questions mic and everything. And then I'll probably start saving clips to the YouTube, so if anybody has questions or anything, feel free to just drop them in chat or in comments later. Instance Memento recorders. So we have instance equal null, list of items. So these are all set up. Memento item recorder. I'm not really going to need to change any of that. But do I have a constructor I need to change? I have a subscription method. Oh, because this is a subscription. Oh, and it inherits that. Well, that's not going to be too bad. I don't need to worry about my calls there. It doesn't look like I even have a constructor for this one. Is that because so much of it was just able to be set up? Instance. Null. Yeah, this is set up as a singleton. Oh, crap. This was set up as a singleton, so that was more callable. Well, the Memento Manager is meant to manage everything. Let's search for make singleton. I think I removed the singleton functionality. I don't think it actually. We'll check the bottom if instances. Alright, so let's check instance. How many... Where is the recorder? Add subscriber. This. Huh. Actually, I think the dumb way to get around this constructor is not inherited, so I can't use the base because it doesn't take any parameters. Can I use a... Because I know you can do it with passing in parameters. Let's see what Quen7 thinks. I could probably just Google this as well. This isn't that big of a thought. Well, no, I'm not gonna let you search the web, buddy. we'll, we'll put you in there. And I'll go use Google over here. Get a copy of this one more time. The base constructor does not require any parameters. You can use it without passing in any arguments. Default parameterless base constructor is invoked automatically. So this C#. So we pass into base. Okay, so we just easy. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I double thought. Like, I don't know why I second guessed myself there. That was stupid. But essentially, let's just grab this guy. And you will become a part of the net memento session recorder, wherever that is. Net memento session recorder, go down to accessors. Did I? No, I didn't. I'm still not in there. There we go. I could use a little more user-friendly UI. A little more legible. There's too many different colors on here right now. There we go. Singleton instance memento instance equals memento session recorder. And then I can just delete all this crap. And I can use. That's not what. That's not right. That's not right either. Cut that. It's not what I wanted. That one's perfectly fine. Maybe let's think, will it be accessed on the... Okay, so if it is static, then the instance static up there should be fine to take. And the instance... So the method instance should still return. The variable instance should still be fine. Let's take that back to there, actually. See how instance is defined as well before we frick this up too bad. Instance is defined as a memento session recorder. It is protected. It is static. So I can reuse it, which is why I didn't highlight wrong, which is why it's fine. So that's fine. I can use this here. I just need to use the base constructor, which would probably just be easier to type in because it's so simple. Methods, accessors, methods, constructor. CTORS constructors. I should have called this end region. Whew. The busier I get, the more afraid my brain gets, and the less it gets typed correctly the first time. Let's go ahead and do a constructor. And then we go net message session, Control C. Net memento session recorder. Protected recorder. Base. That should handle all of that. Oh, stretch break. Okay. So, net memento session recorder base. Now we really see where having that static as server reference available is super helpful. Because now we're not even in a mono behavior, so we couldn't even get a component if we wanted to. But it's still important that we are able to check that variable, that value, so, you know. So now, it should inherit an instance variable. It should inherit a instance accessor. And it should chain base. That's it for setup. Net memento session recorder. So, recording session checks these, and that works good. So I can, in the constructor, yes, in the constructor I can do this. I can add to the net permission manager I can, is it dot instance? Dot, and then I need the delegate. What's the delegate's name? It's at the top. Permission changed. And then back. Permission changed. What do we want to do there? Be okay. Slow her down. Just paste this somewhere so I can think. What about this? Is this the right script? No. Keep going back. Memento session recorder. This is the right script. Beautiful. End the line. Maybe? Oh. Because just accessing this is like nothing. And I need to plus equal. And there's no on execution or whatever right now, right? So I need something to do that with. Which would be a new method probably. So let's look at our methods. And let's create a new method for on. Let's call it on permission changed. Let's do a protected, because we're adding it to the delegate, so we don't need anybody else to have access to this. And then he's going to need parameters, which is just this. Net guest permission plus equal. That's not where I wanted that. I wanted that up here. Actually, could I just a net guest permission? Don't need parameters on that, just like that. Event permission manager on permission changed can only appear on the left-hand side of a plus equal or minus equal, except when used within type guest permission. Did it? That's the syntax I used, though, wasn't it? Where was that even at? Permission manager. We can look at permission manager first and hope I can figure it out. Ah. Stupid. Very stupid. Oh, this is marked internal right now. Or default or something. Let's fix that. Yep. Yep, I think that's it. That's right. No, it's not. On permission changed is the right one. Because on permission data change is my listener for when this serialized field changes. On permission changed is the one that is the permission, or net permission is the one that is the permission struct. On permission data changed is a listener hook that runs on permission data changed. So that's the only option for it to be. So what's wrong with my syntax? did I? Is that not supposed to be there? Yep, that's it. Okay, no parentheses, because technically not a method. Quote, quote. Perfect. So now we have a net guest permission equals the instance on permission changed, or to the instances on permission changed, we add our on permission changed. Which is going to be a conditional end of recording if we can no longer record. So yeah, that's going to be an if. So if we are server, let's start with that condition. Net guest permission manager dot instance dot is manager, or is server, sorry, is server, do nothing. Actually, even more than that, just return, don't check anything. Whereas if we are a net guest permission instance, we don't really have to, but we could include is client. Technically, you have to be server or client, but yeah, we're gonna leave client out, actually. Just I don't like it. But we're gonna get guest can record. Guest can record is equal to, actually just is guest can record, enter, bracket, enter. If this is true, we don't care. What we do care about is if we are not true. So if net guest permission is false, guest can record is false, then we want to end END recording? Is it stop recording? Stop recording session. So if we are so on a permission change, if we are no longer can record, then we stop recording session, and that's all that they can record. Yes. Okay. Ooh, back popping. What do we got left? We have 6:47. It is a little over 2 hours. Nothing really to test just yet, but I'll probably add a button. Oh, should add a button. Should maybe add some toggles and then close out. So let's do that. Net guest permission manager. We're gonna go down to our toggles. That's our toggles. Toggle can edit, toggle can record, toggle can save. That's going to be Control C public. Just going to go ahead and net guest permission, toggle guest can. Yeah, add toggle replay. Guest can replay. C, V. There's that one. Did I make a get for this already? Save. On save room. Instance right config. I think I screwed something up here. This shouldn't be in this class at all. Calls out to JSON manager. I'll have to look into that. I don't know why that's that way. And I did that this morning. Or not this morning. 1 or 2 days ago. 2 or 3 days ago. So I guess it has been a little while. Guest can record, but not guest can replay. Now we're just doing some dumb mindless stuff for setting up next time. Guest can replay. And then I'm probably gonna switch over to something else and work on stuff tonight. Guest can replay. Oh, because they're written as accessors, so they don't, or written as, yeah, accessors. Wait. Inside net guest, guest can record. This should get changed to replay. Guest can replay. And then now this is all set up. So let's go to the XR canvas. And some of this seems a little sloppy, but that's kind of, it's still kind of a test space. I'm not certain what pattern works best here, so we're kind of using some built-in stuff to try and speed it up and see how it does. Guest can replay equals null. Oh, we'll also call it a button. Let's copy that button while we're here. And now I think we use our new setup, correct? New setup. And our new setup is here. And we just kind of use setup, set color. Setup color. And that gets permission. Guest can save. And this is guest can record. Alright, so if they can record, save her up. flip to Unity. Gonna do the last little bit. We'll hook up this button, and then that'll probably be it for today. So, if we ever load the dreadful Unity run, busy for like 25 seconds, and then all of a sudden finishes. Come on. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and open our scripts, and then go to, or not scripts, let's go to our assets, the prefab, the network, the XR, the canvas. Drop down, look under the panel, can record button. Let's just Control D duplicate this guy. And I'm going to go ahead and say you go down. I'm going to say can edit goes up. I'm going to say save button, record, record regular, go up. Let's rename this one replay. Don't know. Okay. Can REPLAY. Can replay. Open up text. Guess can replay. Can replay. Move that guy up. Whoops. Move the whole button up. Move all 4 of these up. And then on the can replay, go to the button property, change this to toggle guest can save. Did I not save it? Oh, I didn't add the... Yep, okay. I added the toggle in the network permission, but not in the canvas, which I can actually call it from. Toggle the record. Let's replay. Spelled correctly. Debug.log. Control C. Control V. I noticed that I didn't. Oh no, that's right. I did edit the toggles, the debug statements. So if we're all saved up on there, now we should be able to go to Unity, try this again, see if we can get the right method call. Ba -ba -da -da -ba. Come on. Replay? Can save? Replay? Record. Replay. There we go. Do a quick check of if that Boolean works. Might as well before I shut down. Look at the chairs. Something's not quite right. Toggle can replay. None of the other ones changed, so nothing's linked incorrectly. It's that something isn't called at all. Actually, let's do that. This is also going to be important, so later anyways. Guest can record. Guest can record button. Set active. And I didn't even need to do it there. You know what? There's no calls. I don't want to take the chance of doing something stupid in there and then it not carrying over. Wait, is that what happened? Nope. Get component. Hold on. Okay, so now set up. It's redundant, but let's get... Nope. Control Alt Shift. Oh, that's not quite the... Not quite what I was hoping for. Control Alt Shift. We are just going to kind of leave it explicit for right now. Just for testability. Tab, tab, tab. If is server. Actually, and then we do that. And then we do a Control V. Go sideways. Control is server. Manager dot. We're going to use the network manager. Manager, not network manager. I could use the network manager. There's nothing against that. I just want to use the net. Guest permission instance. Dot is server. And I'm going to have a bool. So create a new bool equal to the value found here. Manager.instance of the server. Now we delete all these decimal things. And delete. Alright. This bool is server. Well, darn it. Then let's cut that. Cut this. Put it up at the top. Close that line. Save her up. Button setup color. Then did I add setup color to the last line? Under... No, I did not. So that's what it is. It's that setup color. What the? So I think that's just not running correctly. Oh, it's set to can record. REPLAY. Alright, so we can replay. Let's try that. Do 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 do. Alright, so let's run this. And then once this runs, we'll have still not. I didn't assign it. That's what the problem is. Canvas. Canvas has a reference. We'll just look for things with BTN. Then I didn't give it a BTN name. Now we add her up. Not on the button. We add it on the canvas. We add this field. Guest can replay button. So the method was probably running, but we never showed the color of the permission. So there we go. Alright, so all of our canvas is working. All the canvas is red and buttons. And then here's host. Yeah, so I think that's going to be a pretty good testable canvas for right now. Probably going to set up some other stuff later. Continue to hook up that networked memento. Take a recording of the memento. And then send that on. I might try and... Worried about it capturing audio twice. We'll have to look how that works. Maybe we'll have to capture it and then splice it together in video. I don't know yet. We'll see. Okay. Anyway. Here we go. So with that, hope that if you watched the video this long, I hope that you enjoyed it. Or if you've been here in chat. So we're going to go ahead and flip down the bouncing ball. Float webcam. What's the button? Scene switch. There we go. You can always watch the videos over at youtube.com or after the VOD on twitch.tv. Jib at BFP. We'll be doing more bike race stuff, more classroom VR classroom stuff, and more developer stuff in general. We got a new project looking at a new AI assistant, so more Siri coded, Going to be looking at using small LMs on phone and creating a Rust application that uses that, and already has speech to text working, interpretation for commands, and we're going to hook up some more commands and run hopefully Piper and get a cycle running where we can print what you say out, read it back to you, run the command, and read back any output that might come up. But yeah, so we have virtual classroom, bike race, and what's currently codename Beautiful. So we'll be bringing that, as well as some art streams hopefully soon. Probably going to be doing some more art stuff as I just try and vacation this next little while. So with that, we're going to sign off. Thanks for watching and joining, and remember to follow or subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube. Have a bug-free day.